Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
Happy New Year and welcome to the first Friday Night Prime Time of 2018. We left you last year at one of the most famous racing circuits in North America. Now we take you to one of the most famous racetracks in the world, Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. This is week 4 of the Blancpain Sprint Series. We thought it was going to be an all German shootout today, but actually we've got a couple of McLarens thrown into the mix as well. It's Wilvinson along with Connery Maddock, and well, Connery, this is going to be a true sprint race today. These drivers won't pit until about 3 or 4 laps to go. Take a splash of fuel, no tyres. It's going to be fast paced, and you've got to make sure you get the start of the race sorted out. You've got to make sure you keep your head in the game, and then make sure you nail that pit stop.
Yep, 40-minute race, no time to hang around, and as you correctly say, one scheduled stop, but with the fuel-limited nature in this series for these GT3 machines, these cars will try to drain that fuel tank dry and take that splash and dash at the end. But looking at this field right now, it is incredibly, incredibly strong. We've got a 6.5k SOF, so the average I rating in this field is 6,500, and I've got to say, that's one of the biggest SOFs I have seen.
Yep, highest I-rated driver, Max Beneke, 9,831. We've got 2 drivers above 9,000 I-rating today. The other, Ricardo Castro Lido. We have got ourselves a good handful of drivers who have got current licenses for the World Championship Series on iRacing. Let's have a look at this track then. In fact, it's the longest track in terms of Grand Prix racing. Not the longest track on the iRacing service. That actually goes, of course, to the Nordschleife, and Circuit de la Sarthe is longer than this track as well. But we know it as a 21-corner racetrack. It's changed dramatically over the years. A little bit less so since about 2000, Connery.
Yep, exactly. And, well, the particular strength of this track is, well, one thing is going to be those huge elevation changes. There's such a difference from the lowest elevation point and the highest elevation point. When you're at the top of this track, at the Lecombe section, you can pretty much see all the way down towards the bottom of the mountain, and it's quite an incredible sight in real life. but you've also got such a variety of corners on this racetrack as well. You've got fast chicanes, sweeping chicanes, some medium speed left-handers, right-handers. You've also got that high-speed double left of Pujon as well. And then you've got the slow speed bus stop at the end of the lap as well. So it does challenge all aspects of a driver's ability.
You know what? I went to Spa a couple of years ago, and you just saw that on the shot that we had. The elevation change between the bus stop chicane and the run down to Air Rouge is really steep. And if you've ever walked up from the track through the infield, where you've got all the trailers and everything, you know just how hard a walk that is up the hill. Times are starting to come through. Augustin Canapino has currently got provisional pole position. Niels Curry in second place. Fulvio Barazzini, and there we are. The two 9,000 I-rated drivers. Riccardo Castrolado, 216.641. Max Benecke, 75 1,000ths of a second further back. Then Nestor Garcia Jr. He is currently in third. Thing is worth noting, we have got ourselves a pretty nice big field here today. Sometimes when these races split a lot, we do worry about the fact we're not going to get too many drivers in a split, but I think this is the right number for a sprint race like this.
Yep, the maximum number of cars that are allowed entry into a Blancpain Sprint Series race is 30. We have 27 machines out there on track trying to get their qualifying time set right now. So a very, very good number indeed. We're still waiting on the likes of Javi Ultrius, Alatalo, Roque Garcia, Maximilian Venig, and Daniel Cruz to set lap times. But everyone down to P number 22, that's their first qualifying lap. They do have the option of continuing on trying to improve their time, but usually the first lap is the fastest in these cars.
Yeah, indeed. So we're looking at Riccardo Castrolado. Let's go and have a look at Benecke for a quick moment as he works himself through Huon right now. That double apex, very challenging left-hander. We now go on board with him as he comes towards the Fangya chicane. I absolutely love this corner. Flick it to the right-hand side. Use a little bit of curve, but not too much. Now to the left. Run over the curve and exit. Use that long, wide curve there to settle the car down towards Stavolo. Benecke, number one machine, trying to hunt down Castrolado. We'll go back on board with the second place driver as we will get the lap times for both of them within about 2 seconds of each other. And there's the lap time for Benecke. Sector 1, 38.0. Sector 2, 57.0. Now, just the bus stop chicane to go. Running nicely through Blanchemont. Slowing it down. Time to beat 2:16.641. Out of the final corner then. Let's have a look. Castrolado. Does he go faster? Does Benecke go faster? The answer there is going to be no for both drivers.
Yep, and well, Spa-Francorchamps is one of those tracks in the iRacing service where it does punish you quite a bit for going outside of the track limits, and if you do so, if you get any sort of instant points on the qualifying lap here on the iRacing service, it will just completely abort your lap, so that may be what has happened there.
Yeah, so that is pretty much now qualifying done for this event. All drivers did qualify. Ricky Alatalo qualifying in P number 16. P number 27 in the number 16 machine, and we'll be starting this race at the rear of the field. Qualifying over. Let's then have a look at your starting grid for this evening's event here on RaceBot TV. Well, Riccardo Castrolado then, qualifying time 2:16.641, has pole position ahead of Max Benecke. Row number 2 will be Maximilian Wenig alongside Nestor Garcia Jr. Row 3, Sebastian Schlanenbach there, along with Denis Kowalski from Niels Koch and Augustin Canapino in row number 4. We cycle it on back. Note there, we have a non-Mercedes inside your top 10, Connery. JJ Nylander, Finland, McLaren. You always expected it to be a Finnish driver if it was going to be in a McLaren.
Yeah, exactly. The Finnish drivers really do like their, well, shall we say, unorthodox cars for the track here, but JJ Nylander putting in a fantastic time. You have to remember, Nestor Garcia Jr., he's in a BMW starting P number 4 as well, so fantastic effort for him in what is largely considered to be a underperforming car at this track.
Yeah, we've got ourselves just a handful of BMWs, just a handful of McLarens. Both the McLarens are run by Finnish drivers, Alatalo, at the rear of your field. So have a look at the track map once again. 21 degrees Celsius, 59% race relative humidity, a couple of clouds in the sky and some wind speeds, about 16 kilometers an hour for this evening's event. 4.3 miles is the racetrack. It was 4.4 miles at one point, back when they had the double bus stop chicane at the end of the lap. Since then, the track distance has shrunken down just a little bit. There's been lots of changes, really, in the last 20 years or so. I remember back in the day, Connery, the mid to late 1990s, you got Air Rouge wrong, you wouldn't be going off track onto some nice little piece of asphalt. You would quite literally be going into a gravel trap, most likely flipping over.
Yeah, way back when, you know, that particular sequence of corners was even more of a death trap than it was, than it actually is right now. His drivers will actually head their way off and rolling behind the iRacing roof pace car there. But we also have to remember, way back in the early 1900s, this track used to go and visit a couple of villages nearby as well.
Oh yes, it did. And we'll talk about that one over the course of this event as well. As a look, the mountains. This track also had a habit over the years of literally being bone dry 1 minute. 1997, it was bone dry before ITV went to commercial for this, the Grand Prix. And when they came back, it was soaking wet. The weather changes here very quickly. Of course, with no rain currently on iRacing, but we do have dynamic track conditions that the drivers can mess around with in hosted sessions, etc. But welcome to 2018 here on RaceSpot TV, Friday night prime time. Pace car is going to work itself on towards pit road. You'll notice they are just going to wait for a moment. Running the endurance pits today, and that means we've got to wait until after the drivers get themselves through the last source hairpin. Which is why they're, for the most part, at least the top 4 rows, 2x2 for the time being. Pace car's actually got about 200-yard advantage right now. Oh, a bit of brake checking actually coming out of last source. This will give a huge advantage to the #1 machine of Beneke. As the green flag's in the air, we go racing as, Castro Lido is leading the way, but what that did is it enabled Beneke to fall right into line as drivers now work themselves through Air Rouge, up the hill to Radioff for the first time, and now it's that long draft run towards the Lacombe hairpin and Lacombe complex even. And, well, Castro Lido does have the advantage, but that kind of helped out Beneke, the fact he didn't have much pressure alongside him at the start of that one.
Yeah, exactly. A relatively clean start for the vast majority of drivers. There was a couple of bits too wide heading through Eau Rouge for the first time, but these drivers are good enough to not make an incident of that one as they head down into Revanche now for the first time. A contact behind 27 goes for the slide on the outside of the corner, helped around there by Patrick Henreich, but he will keep going. Yeah,
that is the driver of Fulvio Barazzini right now in the #27 machine. Actually, one of the few BMWs we've got running in this field here today, as he's going to be passed now as a consequence by Mark Elkerman as they will work through Pouhon. So maybe there's just a little bit of damage or a bit of trepidation there by Fulvio Barazzini as they work themselves down the hill towards Fogna for the first time. Out towards the front of your field, they're all going to be single file for the time being, and there'll be a little bit of gamesmanship, I would think, going on for some of these drivers over the course of the first, I don't know, maybe 6-7 laps, trying to figure out where they are. It's almost too late to make the early moves now. You had your chance, you've done it. Now it's a case of what can you do to keep your position and your momentum going before that crucial one and only pit stop.
Yeah, your big opportunity for early moves was heading down into Lacombe for the first time, and of course into Revanche for the first time, as the rest of the lap isn't really suited for overtaking apart from the bus stop chicane. As looking back at the #14, he has a run out of the corner. This is Javi Ultreas looking down towards the inside of the bus stop. Defensive line by Barazzini, though, has to be forced around the outside for the first apex. Will get the inside for the second apex, and perhaps just start off this move right now. Good run off the corner, but Ultreas is still there, looking for the inside into La Source.
Yeah, indeed so. So we have just got a quick reset we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, of our live timing and scoring. And before we get that one live for you, but The good news is then it's been a very, very calm and clean start to this motor race. Most of these drivers have gotten through without any incident. Barazini, who actually talked about it a few times. Here's the one that we have seen have a moment. That was down, of course, at Rivage on lap number 1 of this event. Drafting side by side a little bit there. That's between the number 8 and number 9 machines. Behind, you've got Niels Koch as well, going with Dennis Gabrowski. What's happening?
Ooh, a little bit of door-to-door contact between Schalmenbach and Canapino. That was the battle that you did just mention, heading their way through the Lecombe chicane, and Schalmenbach will come out eventually on top of that one, but did have to get the doors out a little bit. I don't think Canapino is going to be happy about that one.
No, I don't think so. They are riding on board of Canapino. You see, there is a little bit of damage there to the front right-hand side of his car as he's driving within it. Flashing the lights, yeah, you're right, he's not happy right now. I think he'd like to have a couple of words if he had driver-to-driver communication there with that driver. Although Niels Koch behind, we've got to keep an eye out on him right now because he is in a battle with Gabrowski. They were separated by 0.2 of a second through one there, and they now come down into Fogna. And Niels Koch, this is going to be an interesting run, I think, as they come down towards bus stop.
Yep, Niels Koch hasn't been really making any moves so far in this race. He's still in... Actually, he's dropped 1 position on his qualifying position at this moment in time. So I don't think it's going to be concerning him too much, though. But with a 40-minute race, maybe he has to be thinking about trying to gain some ground back soon as he still tries to draft with Dennis Gabrowski coming up towards Blancpain now. I don't think he's going to be close enough heading down to the bus stop unless he gets a monster run through, and he does. Look how much momentum he can carry through that very fast left-hander, but Gabrowski driving very, very well, just blocks the lane there, coming down in towards the bus stop and denies Koch the chance.
In fact, in times like that, what you want to do is almost force the driver ahead of you to out-braking themselves down into the bus stop chicane. They've seen that one so many times over the years, with drivers thinking, okay, I've survived that move, and then all of a sudden they've just missed the apex into the bus stop.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the sort of the mind games like the drivers like to play with each other. Just having a little bit of a look towards the inside, even though you know you're not going for the move. Maybe it's just worth doing that sometimes, just to scare your opponent into outbraking themselves, just as you say. And we could see yet more of that starting to go on, as well as still watching Koch. He has the absolute pace over Gabrowski right now, I have to feel, but he's going to just lift out here, just saving fuel. Side by side ahead, though. That was the number 5 of Néstor Garcia Jr. Trying to defend from Maximilian Wenig. Does successfully defend coming down into the Lecombe, but Wenig looking very quick.
Yeah, Rick Balatalo with his McLaren. Got that entry curb into Air Rouge completely wrong. Slammed, he basically skidded all the way up Air Rouge into Radio, and he'd actually gained up a couple of places before that incident as well. You can see he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions that he'd made up, not including drivers on pit road, so that was a gain of 7 by Alatalo. As soon as that McLaren starts sliding on you, there's always absolutely nothing you can do. He is now down at the rear end of your field, but we're still looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would classify it a horse battle going on. P number 3, Néstor Garcia Jr. is the one who leads that one over Max Wenig right now. We've got to be impressed actually by Garcia Jr. on one hand in the fact that he has been able to hold off a lot of these Mercedes drivers who are, in theory, just slightly better suited to this track, although they all are now 1.4 seconds behind your leading duo.
Yeah, typically the BMW is much, much faster through the corners, but it just severely lacks in straight line speed. And you can just see the Mercedes always on these 100% throttle sections, just always catching. But Garcia is making the most of these slow speed corners here in the middle of the lap, and of course the end of the lap with the bus stop chicane to try and keep himself ahead. But once Wenig gets within more than touching distance, he's going to just blow by either the right or left hand side.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that would happen this lap, maybe next lap, and that will just start a chain reaction with all the drivers around him. Let's have another look then from the rear of Néstor Garcia Jr. And this is the live gap as it's about 4 tenths per second at the bottom of the hill. You see, actually, he gains a couple of hundredths through Air Rouge just because that car's a bit more stable. Second they come out of Radio, this is where the advantage will go to Wenig. Down to just under 3 tenths of a second. Defensive line being taken by Garcia Jr. Down to even Stevens into the corner. Wennig is going to have to make that pass, I believe, on the outside, and he needs to be about a quarter of a second behind coming out of Radion in order to make it work. But that was the first indication we've had so far today.
Yep, it is. And if you look at this group's lap times compared to the leaders are running 217.3s, 217.4s. These guys are running 218.2s. So you have to feel that Wennig is getting held up here. So is Schallenbach and Canapino behind. But Wennig, he just can't find a way through. Garcia is driving that car like a BMW brick wall in front of him. Just no way by for the number 17. And if he doesn't get past in the next lap or so, then those leaders are pretty much gone.
Yeah, I also saw a lot of bunching up there down at Rivard. A lot of drivers behind are also starting to get frustrated. They know it will take one driver to make that move, the one at the front, and then everyone else will probably be able to start following through pretty quickly. But it does seem to be that there are a lot of drivers, like Coach, for example, Gravoski, Canapino, are all just sat there thinking, come on, make the move already.
Yep, and I don't think Garcia is going to be doing them any favors at all. The Iberica Racing driver has been fantastic in the first 4 laps of this event. You can just see the overspeed again heading down into Blanchimont, but Wennig actually had to brake in the middle of the apex there, had to track out a little bit too wide, and the compromises run down towards the bus stop, but still no opportunity for him to hit his way through. His contact behind Canapino into the back of Schallenbach, all stacks up through the bus stop. That was a mess.
Yeah, we were on board at the time when that incident happened with Schallenbach there, and Canapino will get another replay from up above coming into the bus stop chicane. This is what we saw on board with Canapino, just turning around that number 9 machine. And I feel bad for Schallenbach at that position, because with this field as stacked up as it is, he's lost himself, what, 8, 9 positions almost? So he really did miss out as a consequence of that. We'll try and get ourselves one more look on board. This is Schallenbach's position. Slow speed spin. Not going to be much damage to that car. You see, we almost had another one there with JJ Nylander.
Oh, Wenig's through.
In fact, let's go and have a look at that one then. We'll go back to the replay. We'll show it to you as it would have happened. Up the hill. And this is what Wennig needed to do. I think with the pressure gone behind, he could go on the attack. He got himself the run, moved himself to the outside, and he got to a position he was clear before he got to the braking zone for Lecombe there. And that's exactly what he needed to do. Good run down at the bottom of the hill translates up to success at the top.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. There's nothing that Garcia could really do once that Mercedes gets a very good run coming out of that particular section. That they're just at such a straight line speed deficit that it's pretty much undefendable, even though Garcia has been doing a good job of it coming down in the previous couple of laps there. But once that overspeed gets too much, there is nothing that he could have done. Now, Maximilian Wennig, he has to now focus on trying to catch those top 2. We'll see in the next couple of laps what his lap times are like compared to your 2 leaders. Of course, he's hit the car ahead of him is going to be his teammate of Maximilian Benecke in that Pure Racing team car. That isn't actually an Asher Racing scheme there on Maximilian Benecke car. It's actually both PRT cars. One of them has PRT on the roof, one of them doesn't, which is slightly confusing there, Will, but both teammates.
Yep, and Wennig has now got a half-second advantage over Nestor Garcia Jr. Worth noting that because of that bunch-up, that incident down at the bus stop chicane, it spread that part of the field out a little bit. This will take a bit of pressure off Garcia Jr. for pretty much the rest of this race now, because he doesn't have to worry about the train, about being bumped out the way. He might have to take one driver at a time in terms of a battle. Even if it does bunch up, he's safer for now than he was earlier. Just to let you know, as I talked about earlier, JJ Nylander was a driver who almost got into that incident. We saw the back end of that McLaren step out a little bit through the centre of the bus stop chicane, was able to hold on, a little bit of contact. Don't see anything too bad that is going to hurt that number 6 car now.
No, I don't think so. As McLaren, one of the strongest cars in a straight line, is behind. Terrible run from the 22 Roy Kolber here. Patrick Henrich has to pass around the outside, coming down into Lecombe. Both break at pretty much exactly the same point. Henrich has his work cut out here, but does wrestle the inside line for the second apex away from Kolbe, as Kolbe tries to find the inside for Malmedy, but he's not going to find it at all. A little bit of oversteer off the corner puts him under threat from Mark Elkelman behind, coming down into Rivage, but that battle is just going to fizzle out. No side-by-side through here, but a mistake for Kolbe means you lose one position.
Nice little scrap going on there, down in your mid-pack, battling for the last position actually inside your top 10. You can see Elkerman trying to make a very opportunistic move on the run down into Pool. That's because of the fact that Kolbe is a bit slow actually out of no-name corner. He just doesn't seem to be able to get the power down out of those slow to medium speed corners, Conway, and that will really hurt you at a racetrack like this.
Yep, it really would do so, as the track temperatures aren't too bad for iRacing standards. So it's, you know, in the case of it being so hot, that means there'd just be so much less grip out there. But relatively standard as iRacing weather goes, but that car still seems to be a little bit tail happy. The rest of the Mercedes are looking relatively okay in terms of that. So maybe something in the setup that Roy Kolbe just hasn't really gotten perfect that has meant that he has dropped a couple positions here. Is again good run from Eckelmann coming up to Blancpain. Not going to have the opportunity though. No Max Verstappen moves around the outside there. Well,
no, and just ahead, by the way, we have Bruno De Carmo in P number 7, scrapping it out with Denis Grabowski. This is close battle between Central Eastern European number 10 machine of Grabowski and Bruno De Carmo from Club Brazil. Gap is 0.3 of a second. That's why you're paying a little bit of attention to it. Now, De Carmo does get a little bit loose on the exit of La Source. It can happen quite a bit in these Mercedes. But if you get a gap around about this coming off the top of the hill, then you might be in luck. The only thing for De Carmo is Grabowski has a tiny bit of draft from Niels Posch. It's about 0.8 of a second. But De Carmo should get a very good run now as they work down towards the Francorchamps chicane. Not Francorchamps chicane, sorry, Leclerc. This is why we've had Christmas New Year. I'm all out of sync now. Going to the outside is Bruno De Carmo. Can he make it work? No. Pushes just out a little bit. You always want to pinch that driver on the inside, to the inside there, Connery. It's a dangerous tactic to do, but if you have got people you can respect and run closely with, that's the way of passing on the outside.
Yeah, more often than not, that seems to be the case. As long as you can trust the drivers that you're racing around, you can pull off perhaps risky moves like that one. But I'm just having a quick look at Denis Grabowski's front end right now. That the hood of the car is just pushed up a bit of bumper damage as well. That's going to affect him slightly aerodynamically, both through the high-speed corners and through on the straights as well. But it's not going to affect him all too much. But it could be the slight advantage that Bruno De Carmo needs to get himself past. Lap times last time by 1/10 of a second advantage to the 20 machine. So very, very close on pace. I can't wait to see who comes out on top of this one.
See, now they've come out of the Francorchamps chicane. We're back in the groove, ladies and gentlemen, as we are about just over 15 minutes then into this 40-minute sprint event. For those of you just joining us, welcome to 2018 on RaceSpot TV. Wolfenson along with Connery Maddock, and let's not forget, these drivers will have to make a pit stop. We will not see many drivers coming in at the halfway point. Tyres won't be a big issue here today. What will be interesting to note is how perfect do they get it on the fuel? Because you always know, Conway, that these people who's been sat in tow all race long, who saved a bit of fuel, they will try and undercut. Yes, you'll gain a second and a half, but it is a risky strategy.
The pit stop phase could be absolutely crucial here. You can save a little bit more fuel at this track than perhaps a couple of others on the schedule, thanks to the very long straights. But we will just see who comes out on top of that one, because it's not going to make much of a difference in terms of when you pit. It's how much fuel that you'll be putting in the stops at that pit stop, which could be a big factor. If you take a couple of liters less fuel, that means a couple of seconds, or rather tenths of a second less while stationary in the box, and a quicker pit stop time.
Yeah, let's have a look then at your movers and shakers in the event so far today. Top 4, well, they are where they started. There was a little bit of argy-bargy brake checking going on at the start of this event that could have caused a huge issue. Thankfully, we didn't have any. Augustin Canapino, he's up 3 places here today, as Bruno De Carmo is up 4 also. We're actually going to go on board of him again right now as we work through your movers and shakers. Up 4 places, Mark Elkerman, we talked about him. Sebastian Schlallenbach is down 8 places as a consequence of an incident down at the bus stop chicane. And there is a look at the rest of the drivers. Down 10 places for Solari and Arana. They are out of this motor race. And Atala is up 2 places. He was actually up 7 at one point. However, he had a spin down at Eau Rouge. Back we go then to the race. And the car, as I say, right behind Gogowski still. Still not close enough. I want to check in on your leaders for a moment. First of all, I want to have a look at the lap times between P number 1 and P number 2. They are very, very close, Connery. About a 10th here, 10th there, trading back lap times, back and forth. It's only recently just gone over a second between P1 and P2.
Yeah, it's, as I said, just gone over a second, but I've seen it dip below a second, go back over a second, dip below a second. So, as you say, these guys really are just trading the lap times at the front here. So, the pit stop phase could be the only thing that separates these drivers out here. But we're still going to be waiting another 6-7 laps for that one to happen. Around about lap number 14, lap number 15, we'll expect these drivers in. We're expecting around about 19 laps for this event.
We've got one in. That is the driver of JJ Nylander there. The McLaren going off kilter. Perhaps just trying to see whether he can work in a little bit of clean air. We'll keep an eye out on that one. P2 to P3. Let's have a look at the gaps. And, well, we thought that when Wennick was going to get clear of Nestor Garcia Jr., he was actually going to start closing up a little bit on Beneke et al. He's not doing so. He's actually lost a third of a second, just over that, over the course of the last 3 laps. It's not a lot, but it's a lot enough to be noticeable.
Yeah, it really is, and his lap times last time by weren't all that bad. Only, you know, sort of 1.5 tenths of a second off the leader, but he's definitely not catching with doing that, and is just leaving Nestor Garcia right there in his slipstream now. Garcia, he could just be using the Mercedes in front of him to try and drag him all the way down these straights to try and make up for the deficit that he's dealing with the straight line speed in the BMW. It's a fairly good strategy, and it could pay off for him.
Yeah, in fact, Garcia Jr. was actually 7/1000ths of a second faster than Wennick that last time by. Hey, it's not a lot, but it's enough. And in fact, the last 3 laps, there's been a total difference between those 2 drivers. Wennick in the number 17 car and Garcia Jr. in the number 5 machine of 31/1000ths of a second.
Yeah, very close lap times indeed. Very close battle between these 2 drivers, but once Vene got himself through, it has been relatively stagnant, even though these drivers are very, very close in terms of pace. Looking back through the field, though, we have a little bit of a battle pack here going on behind the number 14 of Javi Ultreus, I believe. He's currently scored P number 13. He has the likes of Cordova, Barazini, and Roque Garcia behind him, and let's see if he can hold them off. He's been setting relatively good lap times, but a couple of drivers back in this pack have been setting lap times faster than him, the likes of Roque Garcia and Daniel Cruz as well. So this could be very, very interesting, Will.
Indeed so. And that one, as you say, starts with the number 14 machine. We're going to have a look at the rear, from the rear even, of Javi, number 14 car, on the exit of the bus stop chicane towards La Source. And Cordova is in that pack in 14th place. Barazini, 15th. Roque Garcia in 16th. Daniel Cruz in 17th. No one really making too many moves, though. I do want to focus on this for the moment. And this is the driver of Sebastian Schallenbach in the number 9 machine. We saw him up around your top 5 earlier on today. Then he got turned around down at the bus stop chicane. He is on a mission to get back into at least the top 10. He's going to try and make a move down towards Lacombe right now. We'll take the inside line. No, we'll get blocked there by Colby. That was a bit of a late move, I would say there, Connery. Is he? Yeah.
That was a very, very, very late move there from Colby. And, well, if this was an FIA sanctioned series, maybe they'd have a few words about moving under the braking there. But both cars do get away with no contact. But Schallenbach, basically the person who avoided the contact there, just backed out of that one when the block was thrown. But Schallenbach, he might be a little bit more careful if Colby's going to be defending like that.
Or after the spin he had earlier, and now this, he might just be completely fired up.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, well, a couple of drivers out here could be hot under those helmets, and, you know, some drivers can deal with adversity better than others. Let's see which type of driver that Schalmenbach is here as he tries to work his way back through the field. You have to remember, he started P number 5, he's down to P number 12, and that is a loss of 7 positions, and with a 40-minute sprint race, with 17 minutes and a half remaining, that's not a lot of time to make yourself another couple of places.
Yeah, and as he's stuck behind Colby, this is allowing Mark Elkman to pull away from the two of them a little bit more. If I was that number 9 machine of Sebastian Schallenbach, I might actually consider coming on towards pit road this lap. Try and do the undercut, because he's losing more than he would be gaining at this stage in the motor race.
Yeah, there could definitely be an option that's open to him. He will miss pit road this time by, and he will continue on his way, so he's not going to do the undercut at least this lap, but I think it would be a good idea as well to try and split this one a little bit earlier, as number 27, I believe, there, actually having a couple of issues. I just saw him drop down my timing screens. In fact, there was almost a little bit of contact heading through the bus stop. In fact, there was a bit of contact heading through the bus stop between himself and Roque Garcia, and then heading down into the last source, it was side by side between Cruz and Garcia, but everything else just stays as it is.
Part 2. Here comes Sebastian again. Now he's officially alongside Roy Colby at this point. So now he has to commit to that outside line. Colby was ahead into the braking zone, and you can't, can Schallenbach then make that outside line translate to the inside for the second part of the complex. So he lost that second lap in a row there. Now, just having a look at the lap time with Colby, he is just about keeping lap time with Elkerman. So it's not the end of the world, but Schallenbach, his fastest lap of the day, will bring that one up on the screen for you. And you can see that his best lap of the day, a 2:17.7. He's 1.1 seconds slower than that right now.
Yeah, I think that's all the proof that you need to suggest that Schallenbach is getting held up by the driver ahead of him. And, well, the driver ahead of that, Mark Elkman, he's, well, the same team as Schallenbach, so he could be asking for a couple of favors here from Elkman to try and do something about Colby. Of course, nothing untoward, like a little bit of contact, but just a little bit of help to get Schallenbach back into a position where he can make this pass for P number 11.
Yep, just behind you got yourself the driver of Cordova, number 12, driver representing Club Iberia. Just behind Javier Torres there in the number 14 machine. Club Florida, 2 Mercedes drivers going at it, P13, P14. That battle pack you were talking about, there is still parts of it that exist. Daniel Cruz is in there, Roque Garcia, and a couple of other drivers as well. But Cordova has pulled out. Actually, look at that, there's Barazini down the inside. Barazini down the inside of Cordova, and he actually will get, no he won't, he's always going to get turned around, and he's now under risk of making maybe a loss of position, because we are going to see David Cruz try and look down to the inside in towards Lacombe, as we just, not Lacombe, La Source even, as we're going to have that again, almost too wide, too deep. And just to let you know, that number 9 machine, as we suggested, has come on towards pit road, Connery.
Yep, exactly. 11 laps done in that stint is quite early. He will be joined on the lane with Juan Jose Sanchez as well, so he's not exactly alone down on towards the lane. Here comes Cruz in number 18 around the driver's left-hand side of the Orion Race Team car ahead of him. Barazini in that BMW can't do much about this one. He may even lose more than one position. Here comes Roque Garcia down the inside, having a little bit of a look. Does back out of that one, though.
Yeah, very close racing. And actually what that's done is it's given a bit of breathing room now to the driver of Cordova over Daniel Cruz and the rest of them, because that gap's now up to 1.2 seconds as we've got a little half move. Yeah, there's Garcia. Side by side. Can't make it work.
No, it can't, and Garcia's front end is looking oh so twitchy coming through there. He has a little bit of front end damage that he could be concerned about, and bits of contact like that certainly aren't going to help. let's just hope the steering and the suspension geometry on that front end is okay for that positive sim racing driver. As looking back towards the front, though, it's Néstor Garcia Jr. He has dropped off the back of Maximilian Wernick. Augustin Canapino is now closing 0.2 of a second in that last lap.
Yeah, there we can see as soon as he lost the draft, Garcia Jr. has started to fall dramatically into the clutches of Canapino. There's a look at the last lap times. You can see 0.4 of a second on lap 10, 0.2 of a second on lap number 11. So it's starting to come a little bit unglued for Garcia Jr. Worth noting that there's 0.2 of a second between Canapino and Niels Koch, which will be worth thinking about, especially as pit stops will go through. That's a breathing room that Canapino is likely going to need. Kolbe, Elkerman, this battle's still going on. As Elkerman, well, let's have a look. Lap times are similar. Of course, they have lost that driver of the number 9 machine, who's been a big talking point all day. Sebastian I'm back. I'm going to mess that one up all afternoon. But having a look at his pit stop times, 1:07 on the lane, 7.4 second pit stop. Worth noting that even when you take into account the longer pit stops done by JJ Nylander and Juan Jose Sanchez, that was the fastest lane to lane that we've seen all day in comparison.
Yep, it was. And speaking of being on the pit lane, Roque Garcia, Tony Reposado have decided that now is a good time to do their service. Again, a little bit early. The rest of your drivers will be looking to come in the next 2 laps there or thereabouts. So Garcia and Reposado trying to get the jump, trying to get a slight undercut. Of course, the undercut isn't going to be as effective here because you do not take tires in these stops. It's just a case of if you're being held up by a driver ahead of you, you might as well pit now, try and get some clear air, and try and overtake them when they come to their pit stops.
Yeah, Canapino versus Néstor Garcia Jr. That one's now come down to 0.4 of a second. Let's not forget, of course, that Canapino did get himself a bit of damage at the start of this motor race. Just going to highlight that one for you on this screen, he says. As you can just see, around there, driver's right-hand side. Now, he's going to have to make sure that he doesn't try and get any repairs done on that, because even just trying to, you know, bend that back into shape, that will take about 5 or 6 seconds in a race where every second will mean everything here today. Coming on and off of pit road, it seems easy at Spa. I actually think coming out of pit road is when you've really got to have that defensive and spatial awareness hat on you.
Yeah, you got to be so careful on pit exit here because the speed difference between yourself coming off of pit road and drivers coming out of the Eau Rouge and Radon section is so different. You have to be so careful with rejoining the track here, and the pit exit itself is quite difficult because you do have to get the car slowed down for a little bit of kink in that one as drivers do head their way down towards lane. All 3 leaders, all 5 leaders, as this is the time where we see a very busy pit lane.
Yeah, and this is what some other drivers wanted to avoid as well. There's Bruno De Carmo. We saw him live coming on towards pit road. There is your race leader, Ricardo Castro-Ledo. Now, you're unlikely to gain a second on pit road or so. In fact, Ben Eke was closer to 2 seconds behind than he was 1 when we entered this pit stop sequence. On the lane itself, they're currently separated by 1.9 seconds, coming down towards their pit stalls. It's actually a downhill pit stall here, so you got to make sure you get those brakes tight as you come down into your pit stall, because I've seen it before, drivers just overshooting a little bit. You lose a lot of time if you outbrake yourself here.
Yeah, you have to be very careful about that, as the only 2 cars that have stayed out are the cars of Dennis Grabowski and Daniel Cruz. Everyone else has come in down the pit lane either this time or previously in this event, as all the cars get themselves stopped in their stalls. Very quick stops expected. Castro-Ledo gets himself off in the way, but Neke has made up a little bit of time there, I think. Wernick off in the way as well, as here comes Bruno De Carmo and Niels Koch side by side through the green cones.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a look at that one then, and there is Bruno De Carmo. He's just going to miss out, but can he now use that bit of draft he will get to his advantage? No, I don't think he will. 7.7 second pit stop. He actually undercut himself a little bit there, as he was almost 0.8 of a second faster on pit road. Want to see that one again. Coming out of pit road. If we can find the right camera angle for it, right about now. There we are, side by side coming out of pit road. That was always, though, going to be Niels Koch's lane, because he actually had he was ahead at the cones, so the ruling would always be that he should be allowed first to actually take that full to exit.
Yeah, that's definitely the case here, and let's just see if Bruno D'Acamo can try to challenge Niels Koch on the track rather than in the pit lane now. Of course, Niels Koch currently still in his qualifying position. Bruno D'Acamo gained 4 positions on his qualifying, so D'Acamo having the better run of things in this event, you have to say, in terms of passing vehicles out there on track. He could have that particular strength to deal with when it comes towards getting past Niels Koch. There's actually Denis Grabowski, and that was a wait from you there, Will.
Yeah, I've just noted that Beneke has got that gap to Castro Lido down to half a second. So somewhere Castro Lido has made a mistake because he came out of pit road closer to 1.2 seconds ahead of Beneke. So either Beneke's had a storming outlap or Castro Lido's had a moment on his outlap.
Yeah, that could well be the case, because I did mention it at the time that Beneke did gain a little bit of time in the pit stops, but not on the order of what he has gained right now. Gap down to 6/7 of a second as they exit the bus stop chicane here. Is actually that one's going to just get itself set and done here as they head their way down towards La Source. Around about 6/10 of a second is the gap between the all-course sim racing leader and the PRT competitor in second place there. So this could be an absolutely fantastic race to the end here, as still close battle between Niels Koch and Bruno D'Acamo as the rest of your cars do get themselves their service done. Grabowski and Cruz just heading their way off of the road. Yep,
so we are going to run through the battles that we have in just a couple of moments time. We just needed to get this to reset. We've done that now, and here's a look at your top 8 as it stands in this event. Ricardo Castro Lido is leading the way. It's not by 3 minutes. We do actually need to get that graphic to update, so we'll bring that one back to you in a moment's time. But Castro Lido to Beneke, that is the battle for the race lead right now, which is 2/3 of a second. It came down, and actually I just want to pull the graphic up here, as 1.2 seconds gained on lap number 14. That would have been from the pit stop itself down to the end of the lap. That does not include pit entry.
Yeah, it does. The pit lane time, at least as I have things here, is around about a second gained. Around about a couple of tenths of a second of that came from a slightly shorter stop for Beneke, but yeah, that's definitely a really interesting point, and this means that we do have a race on for your race win coming towards the end of this race. We're looking at about 3 laps to go next time they head their way across the line.
Bruno D'Acamo has got himself past Niels Koch. That was a battle going on P number 5 and 6. I presume that one has recently happened up the hill. So let's have a look. Move was done before they got themselves to Lacombe at the very least. So let's go and have a look then. Niels Koch. There we are. Bruno D'Acamo. So this is where the move happened. We're on board. It was the run. Oh, a little bit of traffic involved in that one as well. The number 10 of Denis Grabowski coming out on pit road almost played the role of Ricardo Zonta a bit there, back from 2000. And Bruno D'Acamo moves himself through down at the Lacombe complex. He's up to P number 5.
That's why you have to be so careful coming off of pit lane here. There, we did mention it just a couple of laps ago when the pit stop phase was on. It's actually back to this battle, the same battle. Niels Koch now side by side, coming across the pit straight with Bruno D'Acamo. This is the reply that he needs. Down onto the brakes into last source, has to be forced around the outside here of D'Acamo as he gets a huge amount of oversteer coming off the corner, trying to get the traction down. He's still placing his car driver's left-hand side, maybe to scare Bruno D'Acamo, but he doesn't have the momentum to make any move coming into a route. He's just going to be stick behind for now, try and get the run out of Radillon as he does drop back through those couple of apexes there. Still close enough to make this draft pass down the Camel Straight though. Yeah,
it's going to be very close. Defensive line being taken by Niels Koch. Let's have a look at our aerial coverage. They're not going to go 3 wide just yet, but Niels Koch has got to remember that if he makes a bit of a mistake down in any one of these passing opportunities, he will lose a position, most likely, to Denis Grabowski. Grabowski's there. He's just sat there hounding both of these drivers. He's like, go on, guys. You go and fight. You make a mistake, and let's make this 2 positions up for me.
Yeah, as they get absolutely nose to bumper, heading through the right-hander of Rivage into no-name corner, and Coach trying to find any chink in Ducamo's armor right now, but nothing is really being successful for him at this moment in time as they head their way through Pooh on the double apex left-hander down the hill. You can carry so much momentum here, especially in high downforce Formula cars. Not so much in these cars, but it is still a very, very exciting trip to take down into Lafagna. Now still no gaps because you can't really overtake at this part of the circuit. Basically one line all the way through here. Coach has to be thinking now out of Blancpain down into the bus stop potentially, and if that doesn't happen, another attempt into Lacombe.
Yep, give you an update. Beneke's fallen back outside of a second over Ricardo Castrolido. So this, along the battle between Patrick Heinrich and Mark Elkman, are the two closest ones we've got in our field right now. On board with Neil's Coach, and he's got a good run coming into Blancpain. How brave are they going to be? Okay, perfectly on the money for both of them. On the run now towards the bus stop chicane. Nowhere near for Neil's Coach. I'm just going to make a bit of joke here. You know, we often talk about the fact that having a RaceSpot TV sticker on your car will make you 2 tenths of a second faster. There are 4 RaceSpot TV stickers on Bruno Ducamo's car.
That could be making all the difference here to try and keep the car of Neil's Coach behind him, as down to the last source they'll go for the 17th time in this event. Around about 2 laps to go for these guys, so Coach just can't hang around right now. And Carmo, with a good run off of last source, does start off the move coming down in towards Eau Rouge, and you only want to be going side by side through Eau Rouge if it's a last-ditch effort. You don't want to be doing it any earlier than the final lap, otherwise it could end in tears.
Yeah, JJ Nylander moved up to P number 11. We saw that one down at La Source, making the move over Roy Kolb. So Colby now is back down into number 12 in this field here today. No one, and I think what's happening right now is Neil's Coach is just settling down and waiting for the next final lap to make a surprise move. Drivers behind Patrick Heinrich and Mark Elkman, well, these two are teammates, so it'll be interesting to know how hard these two fight together. Worth noting, as we've been talking about him all day long, driver is back now in the top 10 of Sebastian Schalmenbach, as he has worked himself back from what, 13th at one point. Only issue is he's 2 seconds behind the guys ahead of him. So that's pretty much it for him, unless a driver ahead in the field now has an incident. With 1 minute to go.
Yep, well, it's going to be that amount of time in about 1.5 laps. I don't think it's going to happen, as something has happened to Cordova here in the number 12. I believe that is a disqualification for going over the incident limit. And, the number 12, absolutely heartbreaking for him. As we're now, for the leaders, we're coming up to the Blancpain for the second to last time here. Nothing, unless Benecca gets absolutely monster lap here and Castrolido has an absolute mare of one, I don't think Benecca could challenge, but we'll still have a keep a look on it. The closest battle towards the front, that is on right now. Ducamo versus Coach. They are coming out to Blancpain, but Coach has dropped off the back a bit. Yeah, it's worth noting in this event that the start and the finish lines, let's put them in 2 different places, shall we? Castrolido then going to head himself down. 1 more lap to go in this event today. You can see the play clock ticking down to 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So, time has expired. The lap that these guys are on, that is the last lap that they will run after they cross the start-finish line. Here is a look at your top 8 as it stands. We've got it right now for you. Castrolido leads by 1.4 seconds over Max Benecke. Max Wanig is in 3rd place. Nestor Garcia Jr. in 4th. Bruno Ducamo in 5th. Neil's Coach in 6th place. Dennis Grabowski in 7th. And Patrick Heinrich in 8th. Closest battle we have got on your field, the one we are going to focus on for this last lap, is one that actually he is nowhere near close enough, is Neil's Coach. No, he had a terrible run coming through Eau Rouge. Actually slid slightly coming off of the top of the hill there. Fantastic to try and hold that car and not lose too much time. And now he definitely has his work cut out now, because, you know, this is one of the other overtaking spots down into Rivage, but he can't make it work. Not close enough coming down into the air. He'll try and gain as much time on the brakes as possible to try and close that nose right up to the rear bumper of Ducamo. But Ducamo has been driving brilliantly so far this event. The Brazilian driver really showing what he's made of. of. Tracks off a little bit wide there, coming through No Name. Have to be careful with the incidents coming through there. We've already seen one driver fall victim to the incident limit. Maybe Takama has a couple more to play with to try and secure his P5 spot.
Yeah, of course, these guys are also going to be careful about their safety ratings as well as just the incident limit, especially if you own a World Championship license tag like both of these drivers have. Takama is actually in a worse position in terms of safety rating right now compared to Neil's coach. He's going to be careful, but we'll keep half an eye on this battle, but we have got to, in a moment, turn our attention to your race leader. There is Riccardo Castro-Ledo. He's heading himself now down to Blancpain for the final time. As coach made a good run of this section of track, Stavolo 2, the answer is going to be no. Nothing yet by him. We'll keep the eye out, though, as Castro-Ledo will work himself out of the final corner for the final time. He will be your winner here today at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Claims victory by 1.4 seconds there over the driver of Max Benecke. Turn ourselves back to that battle. Takama is going to make it at the line by 1/10 of a second. It was close, but not quite close enough there for Neil's coach. After being passed a few laps ago, could not make the retaliatory move back. Whew. Good race.
Absolutely fantastic race as the rest of the drivers will head their way across the line. A big gaggle of cars down in the bottom end of your top 20 decide to finish their particular races. As you said, it was very, very close between Carmo and Koch. In fact, Koch did make it side by side in the entry to the bus stop chicane, but Takama, with the better run through the apexes, manages to keep that particular driver behind him. Fantastic drive for him to get a top 5 after starting P12.
Yeah, let's try and see if we can get a replay of that one for you momentarily. Here we are, then. This is the run towards the final corners, the bus stop chicane on track. Let's try and pick up the right camera angle. There we are. Coming down in towards that bus stop chicane. You can see that coach went to the outside. It was that last minute. You see it happen so often. Drivers just trying to do that. Dart around at the last moment to try and use the overspeed to their advantage and distract the driver. Got himself side by side for a tiny bit, but was not able to make the pass happen on the last lap of this motor race. And well, with that done, let's give you results here from Spa. Riccardo Castro-Ledo wins out by 1.4 seconds when all is said and done. It's Mercedes 1-2-3 with Max Benecke in second place and Max Wennig in P3. Nestor Garcia Jr., your highest placed BMW driver, Garcia Jr., finishing 9 seconds in the end behind your race leader. However, did not lose any more positions after we saw Wennig get past him just before the pit stop phase of this event. Bruno Carmo, P5, involved in that fantastic last few lap battle with Neil's coach. Patrick Heinrich there. Heinrich in P7. And then P8, he worked himself back up to Sebastian Schlammenbach. He got himself up to P8 at the end, and there must have been an issue or two because he was down in P10 at one point. Augustin Canapino in 9th, and Daniel Cruz rounds out your top 10. Let's go back and have a little bit more of a look. JJ Nylander in 11th. Javier Utoris in P12, Fulvio Barazini 13th, Juan Jose Sanchez in 14th position, with Bruno Fontabala in P15. Rest of the results up on your screen. One thing I do notice there, Roy Colby fell down dramatically at the end of this motor race. That's one of the positions there that we saw the number 9 car gain back up at the end of this event. So some drivers who took the risk did lose out, not having enough fuel to get to the end of the motor race, Connery.
Yeah, actually, with Colby, it was a completely different story to that one. It was contact with JJ Nylander, as Nylander had his own single car incident through Stavolo 2 and just spun that car in towards the middle of the track, and Colby just picked the wrong direction to go in.
Did Colby just point Nylander back in the right direction by any chance?
I'm disappointed.
Yeah. So there we are. Week number 4 has been completed. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments and we'll talk about what's happening this weekend on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. We'll be right back. Well, good news, Connery Maddock. You didn't blow anything today. I, on the other half, did just a few times. Oops. You know what the funny thing is? I've done 3 24-hour races here. I've done so many World Championship events here. More events than I can possibly name. And I managed to get La Source confused with Lacombe. Lacombe confused with Fonya. I'm just going to put that down to, you know, New Year rustiness.
Yeah, I guess that's what we'll put that one down to is, yeah, as you mentioned, last time, my mistake with calling the rear body panels of an Indy car something else other than an airbox. So it does happen.
Yep. And apologies as well to Sebastian Schellenbach as well for just, you know, coughing halfway through his name at one point. So we've got lots of good racing coming up this weekend here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to run through that very quickly for you. And, well, tonight we've got ourselves more from the Global Rallycross, Red Bull Global Rallycross. We're going back to Daytona, this time with the exact same layout they actually run in the real life series, Connery.
Yep, we will, and well, the GRC races have been such fun to watch, and you know, even though somewhat the feature races, Mitchell de Jong has been absolutely dominating them, but I think in the next couple of weeks we may see some people try to step up to the plate and make Mitchell de Jong not as win by as much of a margin as he has previously. Of course, I did say during our last broadcast that maybe Scott Speed had enough iRacing. Of course, it wasn't correct on that occasion, but one day I hope I am right. But that's definitely something to tune in for. You've also got the series afterwards. You've got the World of Outlaws series with the sprint cars, and of course the super late models as well, which is a fantastic event to watch. Even if you aren't normally into dirt oval racing, usually it's more of an American thing. But as a European, I just watch those races and I just think, how can these guys hold these cars through a slide that long while being so close to each other? You know, you'll find out tonight.
Yeah, and both those races in the World of Outlaws late models will take place at Williams Grove, and then tomorrow we're back here. We are going to be back for the next round of the Pro Series of Road Racing from Spa, and it gets very interesting from now on, Connery, because drivers have had the opportunity to have a drop week in the first part of the series. They don't now.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very big for drivers, a very, very big topic that we are going to talk about when that broadcast rolls around. But this could be, these final 4 races could be the races that make or break a driver's chance to get inside of that top 10 and get that World Championship Grand Prix Series license that gets them into the top open wheel road racing series that iRacing has on its service. So those races are going to be absolute nail biters. One mistake and it could be all over.
Yeah, indeed. So, and then on Sunday you've got Sports Car Open from Circuit of the Americas, as well as the 11th season of Skip Barber 2K World Cup, now presented by DES Simulation, and that means we're going to come back to Spa one more time, join Jake Sperry and myself for that one. First race of the season in 2K, Connery, is generally a feat to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Well, of course, the 2K series, long-time broadcasting partners of ours, and it's great to be with them for yet another season and yet another race at Spa this week. It's basically the week of Spa races, the weekend of Spa races, and I don't think anyone's going to be complaining.
Yeah, we've got Joe Gibbs off-season action series at Circuit of the Americas. Round out your nightcap there on Sunday night, and then Monday night, we're back to Spa one more time, round number 4 of the Club UK and Ireland Monday Night Skippy Series, presented to you in support of the Calm Zone, a male mental health charity in the United Kingdom. Well, final thoughts then from Connery as we enter not just a packed weekend's worth of racing, a packed January's worth of racing.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, even with all of the rest of the events that we have going on with the likes of the Pro Series. We've also got Sports Car Open, as you mentioned. We've got the Neo Endurance Series. We've got the first couple of iRacing special events. You got the Raw before the 24, and of course the 24 hours of Daytona as well. It is going to be a very, very busy January for us, and a very, very good time to be an avid watcher of sim racing.
Yep, can't wait to do coverage of the 24 hours of Daytona. That will be coming your way in just a fortnight's time. The Raw before the 24 will take place 1 week from tomorrow here on Racebot.TV. Just worth noting that there's going to be 2 broadcasts of that one. Our friends over at V8 Online will be doing coverage of the 2 AM GMT race, and then we'll do our coverage of the standard 5 PM GMT event. That'll be here on Racebot.TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. That's all we got time for tonight. That guy over there is Connery Maddock. I am Will Vinton. We'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye.